Hi everyone, good morning. You're watching Market Fatafat on ET now. I'm Mubina Kapasi. Markets looking pretty okay. We look like we're set for a third straight day of gains with the Nifty crossing 11,400. The Sensex has clocked in gains in excess of 250 points, so not bad. Mid-cap index is struggling a bit, but the small-cap index is gaining, though not in tandem with the benchmarks yet again. The show is, of course, all about flagging off all the individual movers and shakers. So we are going to get straight to that. We are joined today by, our team of researchers. Pranay and Varun will join us shortly. And on the technicals, we are also joined by Vikas Jain of Reliance Securities. So morning, all of you. And Pranay, let's start off with you first. HUL second quarter numbers were released yesterday post market hours. What's the street verdict then on the second quarter?
Well, Mubina, the volume growth of 5% is something which has been in line with street expectations. No disappointment over there, even on a high base of 10% volume growth. If you look at the segments, the growth was pretty satisfactory. And also, the only thing which came across as a mild negative is perhaps a slight delay in the closure of the deal with GSK Consumer. That's been pushed back by about 3 months. Also, the management said that growth in rural area is turning out to be at half the pace that of the urban. So that is something which indicates a little bit of cautious commentary on the forward-looking growth, especially at a festive season time. But in terms of the result performance this time, there was no disappointment. In fact, many brokerages have mildly upgraded the stock prices and maintained their stance.
Okay, so no complaints as such when it comes to HUL's results. Stock price is gaining 1.5%. But what's not gaining is the IT basket once again, Vikas. The Nifty IT continues to stay in the doldrums despite the rest of the market being a pillar of strength. What exactly is your recommendation and observation here?
Dina, if you look at Nifty IT, has been struggling to cross on the higher side and continuously racing, trading below all the long-term averages and short-term averages. Despite the results came in from Infosys and TCS, this sector didn't show any uptick, and the uptick has been pretty short-lived. So we believe it would continue to see some more amount of pain and would continue to underperform. On the downside, this sector can easily achieve 14,500 to 14,600 levels over the next few weeks.
Okay. Well, I think the culprit responsible for this crack in the Nifty IT is Infosys. It's another day of a decline witnessed in the stock price. This is stock number 3 that we'd like to flag off for the very same reason. After the second quarter numbers, which were, well, pretty much of a mixed bag, where margin performance did okay, the revenue guidance, the lower end was hiked. The stock continues to crack. We did have brokerages as well, more or less mixed. Credit Suisse had a neutral stance. They were not exactly impressed with the numbers. CLSA, however, did have a buy. So brokerages as well were pretty much mixed. Stock price continues to crack. But do remember that throughout that market carnage that we had seen, Infosys was resilient. It had stayed pretty put at that 780, 790 odd rupee level. Today, currently, it's at 771 rupees. So a bit of sluggishness creeping into the stock price, and along with it, it's taking below even the IT, the entire IT index. Okay, more result reactions then. And Pranay, Delta Corp, how has been the second quarter for this company?
Well, the revenue performance has been flat, Mubina. It's come in at 201 crores, same as the figure in last quarter. But the profits have moved up about 23% to 59 crore. So if you look at the key segments, then casino and hospitality segment, that is actually disappointed, while the online gaming revenues continue to remain strong. So based on these numbers, it's not really a mover for the stock price, and you'd still wait for improvement and pick up in the revenues. Perhaps it will happen in this quarter when the hospitality and casino division sees more traction.
Well, the stock price for now is mostly flattening out. It's banged at that 170 rupee odd mark. Okay, Varun as well joins us now. And Varun, GTPL Hathway, yesterday we saw a double-digit rally come by in the stock price, and now today it's cooling off. How are the second quarter numbers?
As the second quarter numbers were actually stellar on the revenue growth and profit growth front, although margins declined a little bit. Now the revenue doubled almost 100% to around 612 crores from 312 crores previously. The PAT was also up 100% at 35 crores versus 16 crores previously. And the EBITDA was up to 120 crores versus 85 crores, showing a 40% increase. So, the street was expecting good numbers, and GTPL, like we said yesterday, was trading at only 3 times EBITDA, which is really cheap. So even though it's cooling off slightly today, it's seen a significant jump in the last 2 sessions in trade, and definitely a positive show in Q2 from GTPL.
All right, yeah, but for now it's 9% down, only because it was yesterday higher by 12 to 13%. Okay, the metal index today is a big loser in trade, and it's being led by JSW Steel. Yesterday's top Nifty gainer, today's, however, top Nifty loser. Stock price is correcting around 2% Now, yesterday we did have some updates after all of those allegations of fraud by Bhushan Power, and of course JSW Steel getting the bid to buy Bhushan Power. Yesterday, the NCLAT has stayed the transfer of payment to Bhushan's creditors until this entire probe has not been completed. So you could say it's a setback of sorts for JSW Steel in their entire acquisition journey. Remember, JSW Steel, after Munir spat, has been very active in acquiring all of these dead assets in the country, especially if their product portfolio matches. But this one, there's been a spanner in the works. The sale has been halted for now. Stock price correcting after seeing a nice uptick coming by yesterday. And another JSW Group company, JSW Energy. Varun, what's the news over here?
So JSW Energy has received creditor approval to acquire Bharat Energy UCAL. Now basically that's a 700 megawatt project that will be subject to NCLT approvals, but it's quite a exciting asset for the company, and I think the stock is reacting positively to that news today. So it's not closed yet. This is just the initial stage, so we'll see how the transaction pans out. We know that NCLT has been posing hurdles for the JSW Group. The Bhushan Steel acquisition has also now been put on hold. There's been appeals from the court. So we'll be looking at this counter closely as well.
Okay, 5.7% higher for this one. Vikas, today all the auto stocks are gaining with the exception of Tata Motors, which is losing. But it's not been that bad. I mean, the stock has bounced very smartly off the 52-week high. In the last 1 month, it's gained very smartly. 20% of a bounce is what Tata Motors has witnessed. Today, however, it's taking it a bit easy. Anything that you'd like to recommend here?
Yeah, the stock is taking some amount of breather from yesterday's move. It has formed a good strong pattern on the weekly charts. If you look at it, has made higher bottoms. So believe any decline yield to 121, 122 levels would be a good entry point. And can keep a stop of around 114 for a higher target of 145, which should be easily be tested over the next few months.
Okay, 126 right now for Tata Motors in trade. Pranay, we did have that news last week about the significant amount of promoter pledge in Zee Entertainment. VTB Capital as well now has invoked a pledge, 10.7% stake. What's the latest over there?
Well, that Russia-based VTB Capital has actually now acquired the right to dispose of the 10.7% stake if required in future. This was earlier held by SL Media Ventures, but after that important con call that you alluded to, it was made clear by the management that it is now in possession of VTB Capital Markets, and therefore, if need arises due to perhaps any movement in the stock price, they have the first right to dispose of the stake to make up for the difference. By some investors, it could be assumed as an overhang on the stock price. It opened down actually about 3% in trade. Since then, it has seen some short covering, as you can see on the bourses.
All right, it's at the day's high, by the way, Zee Entertainment at 250 rupees. Okay, RBL Bank, look at the way that stock is falling. In fact, it's not just a solitary day of a decline for the stock. It has been so in this trend for the 4th straight day. Now, we have seen the stock price, of course, come under a fair share of trouble, again, because of the so-called exposure to certain companies that in turn have found themselves in trouble. Remember, we had Vishwaveer Ahuja clarifying as well, first and exclusively to ET now with respect to the same. Last week has been complete carnage for RBL. Today as well, the stock price falls. It's 3% down. It's picked up a bit from the day's low, but nevertheless still in the red. Okay, let's take a look at the RWI small case, see what that one's up to at the current juncture. Are we seeing any significant momentum over there as the markets as well continue to rise in trade? RWI small case, last time we checked it was at 550. It's at 548 right now. And yes, it's gaining with a similar traction. That's by 0.6%. As we slip into a short break, here are the top stories from the world of startups.
Reports suggest SoftBank is planning to take control of WeWork amid cash crunch. Masayoshi Son-led company has prepared a financing package that they will pump into the startup. The proposed deal will give SoftBank ownership of more than 50%. Paytm is close to raising $2 billion at $16 billion valuation from SoftBank. The announcement comes as Vijay Shekhar Sharma tells ET Now that company plans to talk about an IPO in 2022. AdTech startup One Day raises $1.3 million in pre-series A round. This round was led by Chinese investors. The company recently launched its app Udis in India. Lets users watch ads that they like and pays them for it. The startup expects to reach 10 million users by 2020. Investment in growth stage startups reached $1 billion in September quarter. Investment touched $1.13 billion, which is at a 4-quarter high and 33% higher than last quarter. Google picks 10 Indian startups for third edition of Launchpad Accelerator program. This is a 3-month accelerator program to guide and mentor select startups. Agrix, Ambi, Artivatic, Kioskin are some startups in the list.
Okay, welcome back. You're watching Market Fatafat on ET Now. Let's continue with the countdown of movers and shakers. And because IOC continuing to gain today as well in trade, your recommendation here?
Well, if you look at this stock has been a consistent outperformer. It has seen a sharp move from the lower end of the range of 115 level. We believe some amount of profit booking cannot be ruled out because it has completed its almost strong momentum. And some select PSU stocks are showing some amount of negative divergence. So we believe IOC can correct to 141, 143 odd levels from the current juncture.
Okay, that's 1.5% higher for IOC, and along with IOC, even BPCL are gaining and is gaining. And of course, we did have that ET Now exclusive, Pranay, with respect to Saudi Aramco bidding for BPCL.
Well, yes, and actually a PTI report is indicating that whether it is Total of France or whether it is RIL for BPCL, these were also amongst the names which were mentioned in the media report. They are unlikely to bid for BPCL. The likely candidates, like you pointed out, are Aramco, perhaps other national oil companies from the Gulf, and maybe some other majors which are also in the fray, but not Total and RIL. So that's a bit of news coming in according to a PTI story on BPCL.
Okay, 0.9% higher. But Deven Choksi of KR Choksi believes that retail business will fetch a higher valuation for the PSU OMCs and believes that the government should look at separate privatization of retail and refining segments of PSUs. Listen in.
When I look at, I think, public sector oil marketing companies, I find that I think the retail model probably, I think, is more interesting. And the refining model, I think, remains at the standard core industry level itself, which means that I think at the refinery level, unless I think you have the shore-based refinery, where your raw material to finished product, I think exchange takes place on the port itself because of the refinery being port, which is the case with Reliance. I guess I think you enjoy the distinct advantage of throughput processing, as well as I think enjoying higher refining margins. So in my viewpoint, suppose if government is divesting and probably privatizing some of these OMCs, I would rather think that they should be separating out the retailing business vis-a-vis the refining business. Retailing business in the gas stations, etc., could possibly fetch relatively better valuation to them. That's my viewpoint.
Okay. Varun, let's talk about DHFL. What exactly is the latest update over there?
So basically yesterday and day before there were articles that came out saying that DHFL was going to sell its entire wholesale book for 35,000 crore. Now the company has come out and recently clarified that that is not true, and in fact says that they've garnered significant investor interest for some of the incomplete projects and are just looking for sufficient working capital to get these up and running again. So the earlier reports indicating that the wholesale book will be sold are wrong. As long as working capital can be obtained, these projects will complete and they'll be heading towards completion stage. So should be auguring pretty positively for the counter today. I believe it's up around at least significantly today.
All right, that's of course DHFL for you. Wholesale book sale reports are incorrect. Important flashes on your screen, and this is with respect to Suboxone. Indivior has raised the financial year guidance, that's the revenue guidance from Suboxone for the current fiscal. Now, this in turn does stand to benefit Dr. Reddy's, which remember just about in the last 12 odd months had received that US FDA nod to market Suboxone. So its competitor raising the guidance means prospects are good, which in turn obviously will benefit Dr. Reddy's as well. Stock price gaining about 1.24%. Sharp spike as well seen in the stock as we speak as the news hit ET now. Okay, let's talk about Adani Transmission, simply because one cannot ignore that massive spike seen in the stock price. I think the Adani group of shares have been having a field day. Yesterday we saw Adani Gas gaining. Today Adani Transmission as well is seeing a nice sharp uptick come by in trade. Now yesterday the company announced that it has signed a share purchase agreement, this to acquire an arm of REC Transmission Projects. It basically is the WRSSTL project. It has 272 CKT kilometers of a 765 kilovolt line and 3000 MVA transformation capacity. So this is something that Adani Transmission has acquired, and share price surging. Because, while many FMCG stocks today are in the doldrums, Marico, Dabur, Colgate, HUL on the other hand are really gaining. HUL of course had its results, but Colgate 2.25% higher. Anything that you're observing?
Yeah, the stock has been pretty good, and once the breakout of those 1330, 1350 multiple tops has been done, we have seen the stock continues to show strong amount of strength, and we believe the stock will continue to gain more momentum. And on the higher side, it can easily achieve 1630 to 1635 levels, which is the complete target of the current bottom structure.
Okay, stock is trading at an all-time high of 1555 rupees. And Pranay, yesterday very interesting block deal in Infosys Healthcare.
Yes, Mobina. So here what has happened is that Yes Bank has actually been selling shares in several tranches right since June 30th. Up till yesterday, they've actually offloaded 5.1 crore shares, which is nearly 6.7% stake in the company. Yesterday, though, in the bulk deal that you mentioned, Eastspring Investments India Equity Fund has picked up 40.5 lakh shares, where again, Yes Bank was the seller. So clearly, there is accumulation happening from some of these institutional names, and Yes Bank, in order to reduce its exposure to so many entities whose shares it was holding in the form of pledge invocation, has been disposing of it, which is slightly positive for it. And in Infosys also, it shows that there is institutional demand in the form of accumulation.
Okay, quick break right here on Market Fatafat. Do come right back.